Okay, so let's talk about solving a quadratic. Here's a quadratic, y equals x squared minus 1. If we were to graph this, the first step we do is we'd find the axis of symmetry, right? The axis of symmetry of the equation is x equals negative b over 2a. Now, remember, talking about these guys, here's standard form. In this problem, notice there's no b term. Actually, in this problem, b is 0. A is 1 and C is negative 1, okay? So in this problem, it's easy because the axis of symmetry is actually this guy here. It's the y-axis, okay? Equation x equals 0. That's the y-axis, okay? Just to draw this thing in as carefully as possible. All right, this is the axis of symmetry, okay? Now, if we're talking about the vertex, we know that the x value is 0. Okay, so if I put 0 in this equation, it'd be 0 squared minus 1, which is going to be equal to negative 1. So the vertex is at negative 1 right here. Okay, now the rule says if a is equal to 1, you can go up 1 over 1, up from there, up 3 over 1. So up 1 over 1, up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Okay, now remembering that these are mirror images on both sides, now you have a picture of this thing, okay? Kind of looks like this. Now, this thing crosses right here and right here. These two spots are called the solutions, but they're also called the x-intercepts. You might also hear them called roots. They have 4 names: solutions, x-intercepts, roots, or they also call them zeros. Now, the reason they call them zeros is because to solve a quadratic, you simply say, where does it cross the x-axis? Now, if I'm on the x-axis, my y value when I'm on this x-axis is going to be 0. So if I'm on the x-axis, my y is 0. So when you're solving these things, if you want to know the answer, it just simply says, tell me when y is 0, what does x equals? Because that's what I want to know. I want to know where it hits the x-axis, okay? So this will tell you by simply saying y is 0. Now we graphed it and we looked at it, we can figure it out, but you can also solve it mathematically, and it's really simple. Just like you would do any other equation, you would solve for x. You get x squared equals 1. Now if I take the square root of both sides, I get x is equal to, and now here's the thing, whenever you do these problems, you're going to get a plus or a minus 1 here. In other words, 1 times 1 is 1, and negative 1 times negative 1 is also 1. They both give you that. So the roots of this one is always going to be plus or minus. Whenever you solve these guys, you're going to get a plus or minus on the square root. Now this one worked out perfectly because the square root of 1 is a perfect square. But sometimes you may not get that and you'll have a radical in your answer. But whenever we're solving quadratics, we're simply, here's what you need to know right here. When you're solving quadratics, you make y equal to 0. Right here, this y here becomes 0, and then you solve for x. That's what solving quadratics is.